Hey. Good evening, Packers, and welcome to my novel, The Mortal and the Entity. This evening I'll be reading Chapter 2, The Other Plan. I have with me Wrinkles, and down here, I'm sure he'll get up and come into picture, is Bear. On with the story. Evan was not the only person that the lone figure from the pub had been checking up on. Earlier, much earlier, he was watching a young boy of 11 years old. This time though, the observer was a little further away so as to avoid any unnecessary alarm to the youngster, should he be noticed by the boy. After all, a man watching a child with only good intentions on his mind could appear just as sinister as a wicked man stalking his next young victim. The young boy was sitting beneath his favourite tree, thinking. He was quite bright, and for his age, one or two people had commented on the fact that he seemed to spend more time thinking than talking. Living in a world of his own, his stick-thin aunt had observed on numerous occasions. You will never amount to anything if you do not learn to talk to people, she had promised him. Thinking and drifting off all the time. It's not normal, she assured him. The boy was not paying attention to her words, even though he was looking at her standing by the open front door. He was wondering what would happen if someone opened the back door, causing one of those poltergeist-type drafts to rush through the house. He pictured his thin light aunt being thrust into the afternoon sky by the wind and carried off to some faraway place, full of wayward boomerangs, rebelling against more monotonous return journeys. It never happened though, and she continued to criticise his glazed expression, as she perceived it. Not that being criticised bothered him in the slightest bit, as he was happy to be on his own, with just his thoughts for company. Friends, as far as he was concerned, were a choice rather than a necessity. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining, the sky was clear, and he was sat thinking beneath the shade of a huge tree. He was looking down at the plimsolls on his seat, thinking how nice it would be to have some new ones. Plimsolls, that is, not feet. No, his feet were fine, unlike the plimsolls that he was wearing. They were black canvas with a black rubber toe cap across the front that had seen better days. One of the black laces had snapped some time ago and had been replaced with a piece of string. To avoid attention being drawn to the makeshift lace, his mother had meticulously coloured it in with a felt-tip pen. He felt that some new plimsolls would have been nice the previous week as a birthday present, rather than the two book set consisting of a dictionary and a thesaurus. They're both snoring now. I hope you can still hear. Rather than the dictionary and thesaurus which he had received. The bar of chocolate from his grandmother had gone down a treat though. His mother deemed books more appropriate for someone about to embark upon his secondary school years. Bringing the boy up alone was difficult, and sometimes having to be tough on him was hard for her. Surely they can't cost that much, he said to himself, as he wriggled his toes backwards and forwards, making the toe cap, which was beginning to come away from the canvas part of the plimsolls, open and close. As it moved up and down, Woody thought it looked like a mouth talking, perhaps saying, "I'm all worn out, I'm old, I'm tired. Replace me with some younger ones, please." It was no good though. He had tried asking for some, and had been turned down every time. Whenever he brought the subject up, she would simply tell him that she couldn't afford any, that she had no money. This, he felt, was not entirely true, for he had seen the money, plenty of it too, when she had opened her purse. When he questioned her about the money, she would explain to him that it was not hers. It was to pay the bills with. He also felt that this could not be true. It couldn't be. She had paid the bills last week and the week before that. How many bills does one person have to pay? How many bills are they expected to pay, he wondered. As far as he was concerned, being a grown-up sometimes seemed to be far too serious and an unappreciated job. He was under no illusions that it was a struggle for his mother, and that being a boy was easier and much more fun than being an adult. He could not understand why people his own age, especially girls, yearned to be older, more grown up, when there was so much good stuff to do now. Sorry, I'm laughing because it's snoring. Most adults appear to shuffle around under a cloud of depression and grey blanket of misery, spending all their time complaining about how they hadn't got enough time, energy or money, and were too busy working hard long hours to do anything about it. He thought about his mother and how she went to work, came home, got changed and went off to another job cleaning at the high school. You would think with 2 jobs she'd be rolling around in money, he said to himself, and then considered the possible reasons why she always seemed to be. He did not like the word poor, but he knew it was an appropriate word to describe the tight spot that they all too often found themselves in. Poor. Yes, definitely poor, he had to admit. Maybe she's saving it for one of those rainy days, he hoped. The rainy day adage was something I'd heard grown-ups talk about, but did not quite understand, in the same way that he did not grasp the concept of income tax. It was one of those things that adults complained about on a regular basis. And yet, if it was so bad, why did everybody spend so much money on it? All of these quandaries did not explain why his mother had not bought him some new trainers for his birthday rather than books. Still, she must have her reasons, he told himself out loud, knowing his mother the way that he did. What's the daisy bear? Oh, dear me. Still, she must have her reasons, he told himself out loud, knowing his mother the way that he did. Although not quick to part with her money, she was always generous with praise and love. And that counts for a lot, he reminded himself. Looking down at the primroses again, he sighed. Doesn't keep your feet dry in the rain, but it counts for a lot. Anyway, today was too nice a day to think about the financial and emotional struggles of being an adult. Because today was a day for an adventure. An adventure in 2 parts. First, to climb the big tree that he was sitting beneath, and second, to do a spot of fishing in the river which ran below the furthest branches of the tree. The boy thought how odd it was that the river seemed to inexplicably speed up as it reached the tree, as though fearful that the tree would reach down and scoop it up in order to quench its thirst. Hurrying and scurrying so fast that by the time it reached a bend a little further down its course, the youngster thought that it must be quite out of breath. Not like these 2 snoring then. Not that the river had cause for concerns, for although the tree was big, it was old, and far too stiff to do much in the way of bending. To have grown so tall The boy felt that it must have been around since the beginning of time. Its trunk rose up with a never-ending defiance of gravity, as though seeking out a starry companion just to share a tale or two with. Its branches grew every which way, upwards, outwards and downwards. It appeared to the boy as though one branch was like an arm with fingers of leafy green, reaching down as though longing to be touched, to ease its loneliness. It stood alone, sadly abandoned, as though it had a terrible infectious complaint, much worse than Dutch elm disease. He was the only boy to have succeeded in climbing the tree from all those who had ever tried. His strong hands and natural strength were assets that the other youngsters appeared not to possess. Having already climbed to the very top twice that morning, he was now resting before embarking upon his fishing trip. On the ground next to him was an old green canvas bag containing sandwiches wrapped in a polythene bag, a drink, some biscuits and some sweets which he had managed to resist eating the day before. All well-prepared climbers, fishermen and explorers take extra provisions with them on their adventures, he had told his conscience, to relieve the feeling of greediness that his guilt had pestered him with. Along with the refreshments was a small tin, previously filled with mints, which now contained 2 worms, a long piece of string and his one and only fishing hook, a safety pin in reality. Although the canvas bag had seen better days, to be honest, the boy knew that it was only luck and a concentrated effort on the part of the bag that kept it from falling apart on windy days. He thought of it as neither tatty nor scruffy. He had, in the words of his grandfather, who had given it to him many years ago, character. It has been many places and seen many things. Having placed the bag on his lap, his thoughts began to drift towards the places he imagined it might have been. No, tickling that bear. No sooner had he begun to journey back to the bag's nostalgic past. Try that one again, shall we? No sooner had he begun to journey back to the bag's nostalgic past when he heard a voice call to him. Woody! Hey, Woody! This was the name that climbing the huge tree had earned him. How are you, my mate? Are you busy? Me and our Scooby were wondering if you'd like to play out with us this afternoon. Woody thought what a cruel nickname Scooby-Doo was, as it derived from the fact that the person so labelled with it had asthma and was always panting like a dog after exerting himself. Scooby, having caught up with his brother, was now leaning against a tree, trying his best to catch up with his breath. So what are you doing this afternoon? Asked Scooby's brother, pushing for an answer. Fishing, replied Woody, while pointing to the ground at an old branch that he had fashioned into a fishing rod. Fishing? That's for oldies and sissies, isn't it? Laughed Scooby, trying his hand at a bit of reverse psychology. No, it's not. It's for men. Fishermen, not fisher sissies. Woody enlightened them. Anyway, I enjoy it, and it's probably more interesting than anything you two are going to be doing this afternoon. That remark presented Scooby with the opening that he had been waiting for, and he seized the chance that Woody had all but gift-wrapped him. We were thinking about going down to the old mill, just for a look around and a bit of a lark. The only trouble is that neither of us are good enough climbers to reach the hole in the roof. Woody knew that he could easily climb the exterior wall to the roof, because a few weeks previously he had done just that. with the intention of exploring the old mill for himself. The trouble was that a rumour had been circulated, probably by concerned parents, that a crazy old tramp with a big knife lived in the old mill. Having previously reached the hole in the roof by skillful manoeuvres and a telegraph pole, Woody was certain that he had heard a noise from inside the abandoned mill. He had decided on a retreat to the ground level, just in case the rumours about the tramp and the knife were true. He further decided that a return visit sometime in the future, with Scooby and his tough brother as reinforcements, might be a better plan than a solo attempt. Scooby was still trying to tempt Woody into going with him, as he was the only one who usually found the words that were needed to talk Woody into mischief and tomfoolery. They needed to let him in by opening the door, which was secured from inside. Of course, if you'd rather go sissy fishing than exploring the old mill with us, I understand. Scooby enlightened him, trying his brand of persuasion. Woody was not really listening to Scoobs, as he had made his mind up to go with them the instant they had mentioned the old mill. The mill was a place that conjured up excitement and adventure to a keen explorer like himself. Scoobs was a less harsh version of the asthmatic brother's nickname that Woody used on occasions, as though trying to steer the other kids away from the cruelty of the nickname. Having asthma was bad enough, thought Woody. But to add to his troubles, Scooby had been fitted with braces last year, which seemed to make it even more difficult for him to breathe on hot days. Not that it affected his ability to speak Woody in a manner that he seemed unable to resist, for whatever Scooby suggested, Woody usually went along with. Me too, babes. The brothers were beginning to feel as though it was a lost cause when Woody looked up and asked, "What time?" Neither of the brothers had been expecting such a negotiation-free encounter, and both were momentarily at a loss for words. Finally, Scooby managed to suggest a time. 2? 2 o'clock, yes, that's fine. Come and find me a little further upriver where I will be fishing. We'll meet you at 2 o'clock then, by the stepping stones, confirmed Scooby's brother. They then turned and left. As they walked away, Scooby's brother nudged him and said, "Easy." Scooby replied, "Yeah, a real pushover again." Then they both laughed about the time that they had once pushed Woody into the river. Woody leaned back against a tree, feeling pleased with himself at the ease at which he had managed to persuade the brothers to go to the old mill with him. By now he was feeling peckish and began tucking into a sandwich. "Ah, what a great day," he thought. "Tree climbing, exploring the old mill, and if I'm lucky, I may have time to catch a fish or two." Not that he really believed he would ever catch anything with a branch and string, but the fun was in trying. "Great stuff. What a great day," he repeated, reaching into his bag for a bottle of cherryade. Before opening the pop, Woody shook the bottle a little so it hissed and foamed as he twisted the lid off. All red and frothy with little frantic bubbles, Woody watched them scamper to the top to see which ones would get there first. The smart bubbles, though, clung to the sides, knowing that if they rushed to the top too quickly, they would change into pink foam and spill over the edge, ending up being wasted instead of being drunk, as bubbles in pop ought to be. He loved to give life to inanimate objects, trying to work out what they would think or feel if they had thoughts. This often led to him being told off for daydreaming and not concentrating at school. Having drunk half of the cherry pop and a quarter having been shared between the back of his hand and the ground, Woody decided to save the remaining quarter until after he had eaten his biscuits. He opened the packet of 4 and started eating them one after another, fearful he may have to share them with the brothers should they return earlier than the agreed time. Just as he was about to push the remainder of the final biscuit into his mouth, he heard footsteps approaching in the grass. He half expected to see the brothers standing there, but they weren't. It was a stranger, and with no one else around, the boy felt alone and vulnerable. Please join me on Tuesday night for Chapter 3, The Meeting. Thanks for watching, Packers. Please tune in and like and share. And the other thing that I can't remember what it's called. Subscribe. That's it. Thank you. I hope you like my new quality camera, by the way. And of course my dogs. See if I can get them to be a little bit quieter on the snoring front, but I doubt it. Give us a kiss, bear. Kisses? Kisses?